Albert Einstein, the name synonymous with genius. His contributions to science are monumental, but what about his personal life? What was he like as a person, and how did he think? How did he come up with his revolutionary theories? And what were some of his biggest mistakes? Einstein's life was full of surprises, from his unusual childhood to his turbulent relationships. Join us as we unravel the enigma that was Albert Einstein, the man who changed our understanding of the universe. He was known for his pacifist views and his opposition to military conscription. One of Einstein's most famous quotes is, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." This quote reflects Einstein's approach to science. His theory of special relativity showed that time is relative and that mass can be converted into energy, as expressed in his famous equation EMC in 1935. He co-authored a paper on the increase of entropy in a closed system. In 1903, he married his cousin, Elsa Leuwenthal. The marriage was not a happy one, and they eventually separated in 1914. However, they never officially divorced. Einstein's first marriage was marked by infidelity on both sides. Both he and Elsa had affairs, but they were able to maintain a cordial relationship. Despite his pacifist beliefs, Einstein was a strong supporter of civil rights. Albert Einstein died on April 18, 1955. At the age of 76, he had been suffering from complications from an abdominal aortic aneurysm and died peacefully in his sleep. At the time of his death, he was working on a unified field theory, but it was never completed. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos of brilliant minds. Despite his death, Einstein's legacy lives on. His work has inspired generations of scientists, and his ideas continue to shape our understanding of the universe. He was not only a brilliant scientist, but also a compassionate human being who fought for justice and equality. He marched for voting rights with Martin Luther King Jr. and spoke out against racial discrimination. For example, his theory of special relativity was developed in part while he was riding a train. He was struck by the idea that the laws of physics must be the same for all observers in uniform motion. This led him to question the notion of absolute time and to develop his groundbreaking theory. Similarly, his theory of general relativity was developed in part. While he was hiking in the Swiss Alps, he was inspired by the idea that gravity might be a curvature of space-time, caused by mass and energy. This led him to develop a new way of understanding the universe, one that has revolutionized our understanding of cosmology and astrophysics. He believed that all people were equal and should be treated with respect, regardless of their race or religion. When Elsa died in 1936, Einstein was deeply affected. He had grown fond of her despite their separation, and he felt guilty for not being a better husband. This paper was based on a thought experiment involving a box of gas molecules, and was intended to demonstrate the limitations of quantum mechanics. He was a pacifist and a humanitarian who spoke out against war and discrimination. He was also a lover of music and art, and was known for his playful sense of humor. Einstein's life was truly a remarkable one, filled with both great triumphs and deep sorrows. He was a man of many contradictions, a brilliant scientist with a childlike sense of wonder, a pacifist who was married twice and had an affair on the side, a humanitarian who was also willing to work for the military, a genius who struggled with grammar. Albert Einstein was a complex and enigmatic figure whose life continues to fascinate us today. Initially, the affair was kept secret, but it soon became common knowledge. Nikola Tesla once told his biographer that if he had a son, he would name him after one of his female fans. However, Einstein's second marriage was also troubled. Esther was a free spirit who did not want to be tied down to a conventional life. She had an affair with a younger man and eventually left Einstein for him. Despite the pain that Esther caused him, Einstein still loved her, and he tried to win her back. However, she was determined to end the marriage, and in 1939, they divorced. This caused a scandal in their social circles and put a strain on Einstein's friendship with Esther as husband. The situation became even more complicated when Einstein and Esther as husband both went to America in 1921. Although Einstein returned to Europe the following year, the affair with Esther continued. Eventually, Einstein and Esther's husband agreed to a divorce, allowing Einstein to marry Esther in 1921. However, the paper contained a flaw in reasoning and was later shown to be incorrect. This was a rare mistake for Einstein, who who was known for his brilliant scientific insights. But even his greatest rival, Nikola Tesla, made blunders. He was a vocal critic of war and militarism and spoke out against the draft. During World War II, he supported the Allied cause, but he opposed the use of atomic weapons. He famously said, "I know not why God has put into my heart this very human failing, if not to remind myself and others that I am only a man." Once Tesla was demonstrating his new induction motor to potential investors, the motor was supposed to rotate in a clockwise direction, but it started rotating counterclockwise. Frustrated, Tesla threw a wrench at the machine, shouting, "You shall not defeat me." His theory of general relativity revolutionized our understanding of gravity and the structure of the universe. But Einstein's contributions to science went beyond his theoretical work. He was also a gifted experimentalist, and his work in this area laid the foundation for many modern technologies, including lasers and nuclear energy. He believed that imagination was essential for understanding the mysteries of the universe. For example, when developing his theory of general relativity, Einstein imagined himself riding on a beam of light. This allowed him to see the universe from a different perspective and develop a new way of understanding gravity. In 1914, when World War I broke out, Einstein refused to fight and instead continued his work on his theories, a reluctant prodigy. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, Germany. His father was a businessman and his mother, a former teacher. As a teenager, Einstein became increasingly interested in science and mathematics. He spent much of his time conducting experiments and reading books on these topics. His passion for science eventually led him to enroll in the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. Although he excelled in many areas, he again struggled with language courses and failed his final exams due to a lack of proficiency in French. After graduating, he returned to Italy and worked as a patent clerk, examining and classifying inventions. It was during this time that he developed his theory of special relativity, which revolutionized our understanding of space and time. From an early age, Albert displayed an inquisitive nature and a love for learning. He began reading at the age of 4, and by 6 was already solving mathematical problems that were far beyond his years. However, despite his obvious intelligence, Albert was a rather ordinary child in many ways. He was not a bookworm and did not enjoy school. In fact, he hated it. He was expelled from several schools due to his rebellious nature and unwillingness to conform to authority. He was also very sensitive and had difficulty controlling his emotions. Despite being a renowned scientist, Einstein was not a particularly neat or organized person. His desk was often piled high with papers, and he was known for misplacing his keys and other important items. His sister Maya once described him as a dreamer, a kind of absent-minded professor, long before he became one. Though initially showing aptitude for languages, his mother tongue, German, was his weakest subject. Surprisingly, young Albert struggled to learn German grammar and found it necessary to repeat the 3rd grade. This experience left a lasting impression on him, leading him to later claim that he suffered from a congenital defect in this area. A controversial teenager. Despite his growing fame as a scientist, Einstein remained a controversial figure, a reluctant revolutionary. Einstein's scientific work has had a profound impact on our understanding of the universe. However, Einstein was not immune to making mistakes. A troubled marriage. While Einstein's professional life was marked by success and recognition, his personal life was often troubled. In 1919, Einstein began a relationship with his friend's wife, Esther Urich, a relationship that would ultimately lead to his second marriage. It seems that all the great scientists had their extramarital affairs, a life of activism. Einstein was not only a brilliant scientist, but also a passionate activist. After the war, he continued to speak out against nuclear proliferation and for world peace. The legacy of a genius. One of the most interesting aspects of Einstein's life is how he came up with some of his most famous theories. In addition to his scientific work, Einstein was also known for his quirky personality and unconventional lifestyle. What do you find most fascinating about Albert Einstein? His scientific contributions, or his personal life? Let us know in the comments below.